Hey class, Trish Underwood here. I just wanted to jump on and welcome you to week 2. This week we talk about culture. Last week a few people talked about culture when they talked about how they care for the elderly. You might have noted some people said, well, in my culture, we take care of the elderly within our own families. We can't send them to a care facility or we don't believe in that, right? There's this idea, and it said, according to my culture. So, what exactly is culture? That's what we're going to read and discuss and talk about this week. But culture is made up of the way we think, the way we act, and material objects that govern our everyday life. Um, Within a culture, there's many different, even though cultures are different, we see some similarities among all different cultures. And so we see symbols, and one of the biggest symbols we see is language. Every culture has a language. They have values and norms that, when they are shared, help society to run efficiently or effectively. And you guys are going to get to read all about all different types of cultures. So you'll get to learn all of that vocab and how that applies. For our discussion board this week, we are focusing on culture. Let's see if it'll let me switch. Here we go. And I am asking you guys to think about culture and look at some different, you're going to watch a video and see there's many different cultures, like I said before. And what happens if people do something in one culture that you totally disagree with? Is it okay to say, oh, that's fine, it's their culture? Or are there some certain things we need to all have a consensus on as a human race, a human people? What is appropriate, what isn't? Whose values are we going to use for that? Okay, so you can see that this becomes a more loaded question when we look into the details. I ask you in question 2 here if you've ever experienced culture shock. And I just wanted to share with you an example I have. One of the biggest examples that comes to my mind, or immediate when I think of culture shock, when I was in college, some roommates and I found this awesome deal to fly to Paris. It was like $199 and a friend flies free on Delta. It was amazing. And so we were still super poor, but we're like, we're going. And we all got on the plane, went there, and there was 8 girls, ages 19 to 21. Only one of us spoke French, kind of, like had taken 2 years in college. So none of us are familiar with Paris or the culture or the language or the people there. But what young girl doesn't want to go to Paris? We had such a great time. Anyways, so we go to Paris. We went in the winter time and it was freezing there, but we each had a big old rolly suitcase. And when we got off the plane, there's 8 of us, and what do 8 girls have to do as soon as you get off the plane? Yes, pee. And so they all have to go to the bathroom. I'm like, okay, fine, I'll sit out here with the bags while you guys go to the bathroom. And then, whoever comes out first will switch, and I'll run and go to the bathroom. So I'm sitting there next to the bathroom, and there are luggages all around me. I've got 8 huge bags, plus like purses and whatever else, just kind of all piled into one section. And all of a sudden, these 2, okay, and this is pre 9/11, by the way. And all of a sudden, these 2 officers come up to me. They're speaking to me in French, and I know that I'm doing something wrong. I have no idea what they're saying, but all of a sudden I see the end of a gun sticking in my face, and he's just pointing, like, keep it moving, lady, and I don't have to speak French to know that I am breaking some kind of rule. I'm looking up at these 2 guys that are decked out like Rambo, like have legit, the bullets in the arm, going all the way around their chest on both sides, and they have a gun on their hip. They have a huge gun out, and they're both pointing their guns at me. And to say that I had some experienced culture shock is an understatement. I was completely scared. I was alone. I was unsure what to do. I was unsure what really I was doing wrong, because really I'm just waiting to go to the bathroom and there's luggage. I mean, I'm not engaged in any deviant behavior or any criminal behavior or breaking any laws that I know of. And then all of a sudden, the girls start filing out and they see me with these two officers and they're all running over like, hey, what's going on? And so the one friend that speaks French is just like, oh, we got to move. We can't, they don't want, we can't stay in one place. You have to constantly be moving, or you have to be seated in the seat, over in the seats. And I was like, okay. So that's just a real quick experience of culture shock, right? You can imagine just me being a little 18, 19-year-old girl sitting there with two guns in my face and not having any idea what they're saying. I want you guys to talk about a time when you've experienced culture shock. It doesn't have to be, that grand of an example. Some of you may have family members who don't speak English, right? And they have to deal with this as well. But I really want you to focus on culture relativism, meaning I was looking at this whole experience from a little white girl, 19-year-old college student from America who didn't have much. That was my first time out of the country. And I didn't really understand how other countries worked and what happened. And it could have made me really scared to be in Paris, right? I could have been like, oh, I don't like this place. This is scary. I don't want to be here, or whatever. But instead it was like, okay, I understand. I obviously did something wrong. We will all just keep moving and it'll be fine, right? So I want you to really look at that and see, when you look back at those experiences of culture shock, was it really an idea of ethnocentrism, where you're looking at or judging a society by the values and norms of your own culture and society? And how does that affect how you see them and judge them and the feelings and attitudes that you carry? Okay. So I look forward to hearing from you guys about culture shock and your discussions, your answers to the discussion board prompts. Make sure you read through all of them. I'm really, really looking forward to number 4. I want to see in these discussion boards that you're doing the reading and applying the reading to what we're studying and talking about that week. So look at your theories that we learned about last week. When we talk about who defines human rights, is that from a functionalist perspective? Like, okay, in order to keep society functional, we've got to have some definitions. Or are you going to take a conflict approach and say, oh, well, the people in power get to define this and the rest of us don't? Or might you take a symbolic interactionist approach and say, well, in this person's culture, this is important to them. How do we study what's important to other cultures and make sure we're not allowing people to get hurt, but that we foster understanding? So there's different approaches based on what theoretical perspective that you look at. So super excited to talk about culture. It's the basis of what we'll be talking about throughout the semester. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to email me or reply to the announcements, and I'll get back to you. Have a great week, everybody. Bye-bye.